First Contact's Price. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the International Space Station, her dark eyes fixed on the approaching light that didn't match any known orbital patterns. After 15 years in space, she thought she'd seen everything. She was wrong. The object resolved itself into a sleek vessel that seemed to bend light around its hull. No rockets, no visible propulsion system. It simply was, and then it wasn't, appearing mere kilometers from the station in clear violation of every known law of physics. "Command, are you seeing this?" Sarah's voice remained steady despite her racing heart. The response came not from Houston or Beijing, but from the vessel itself, a cascade of symbols flooding every screen on the station. "Commander Chen," the words appeared in perfect English. "Your presence is required for an urgent matter concerning Earth's status in the galactic community." Sarah's first thought wasn't of aliens or first contact protocols. It was of her daughter Maya, 8 years old and probably just starting her homework back in Houston. "I'm not authorized to make first contact decisions," she replied, buying time while her mind raced through options. "Your authorization is irrelevant. Earth has already been processed through appropriate channels. We are here to inform, not to request." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Sarah felt her military training kick in, pushing personal fears aside. Processed through what channels, exactly? The Galactic Consortium's Department of Primitive World Management and Resource Allocation. Your world has been categorized as a Class C developing civilization and has been assigned appropriate oversight. Sarah's jaw clenched. Humanity had reached for the stars, developed quantum computing, begun to master fusion power, and some alien bureaucracy had just labeled them primitive. "I'd like to see the documentation for this classification," she said, her voice carrying a steel edge that had earned her command of the station. "Documentation will be provided. Prepare for transit." Before Sarah could protest, light engulfed her. The familiar confines of the ISS dissolved, replaced by a vast chamber that defied Euclidean geometry. Surfaces shifted and flowed like liquid mercury, while beings of various forms moved about with purpose. Some floated, others walked on what appeared to be personal gravity platforms, and still others seemed to phase in and out of reality itself. A figure approached, roughly humanoid but with skin that rippled like the surface of a soap bubble. "Commander Chen, I am Administrative Overseer Zelfor. Welcome to the Consortium's Regional Processing Center." Sarah stood her ground, years of zeroed training helping her maintain balance in the strange environment. "I'd like to understand exactly what processing means for Earth." Zelthor's surface rippled in what might have been amusement. "Your world has been acquired by the Varaxian Imperium through proper auction channels. They specialize in developing primitive worlds into productive members of the galactic economy." "Acquired?" Sarah's voice was dangerously quiet. "Earth is home to 8 billion sentient beings. We're not a commodity to be bought and sold. According to consortium regulations, any civilization that hasn't achieved practical faster-than-light travel is classified as a developmental asset." The Varaxians' bid was quite generous, considering Earth's current technological limitations. Sarah's mind raced. Earth had been working on theoretical FTL drives for years, but they'd kept the research quiet, spreading it across multiple facilities and burying it in other projects. If the consortium knew about those projects, "I need to see the full classification criteria," she said, "and I want to know more about these auction channels." Zelthor gestured, and a holographic display materialized. "The information is publicly available. However, the transaction is already complete. The Varaxians will begin their development program within one standard galactic cycle." Sarah scanned the floating text, her augmented neural interface, another secret development, helping her process the alien script. There, in the fine print, appeals could be filed within 10 cycles if evidence of misclassification was presented. "I'll need copies of everything," she said. "As Earth's representative, I have the right to review all documentation related to our world status." Zelthor's surface rippled again. "Of course. Though I should warn you, The Varaxians are not known for their patience with primitive species who question their authority. Sarah met the alien's gaze steadily. Then they have a lot to learn about humans. As data streamed into her neural interface, Sarah began to plan. Earth needed time, and she would buy it. The consortium had just handed humanity its greatest challenge and its greatest opportunity. The game was simple: prove humanity's worth while hiding their true capabilities until the moment was right. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. If there was one thing humans excelled at, it was exceeding expectations. "Administrative overseer," she said, "I'd like to file that appeal now." The ripples in Selthor's surface took on a different pattern. Surprise, perhaps. "You haven't even reviewed the documentation. Consider it a human efficiency," Sarah replied. "We're very good at multitasking." As she began the appeal process, Sarah thought of Maya again. Her daughter had always wanted to be an astronaut, to follow in her mother's footsteps. Now, thanks to alien bureaucracy and human determination, Maya might have a whole galaxy to explore. Assuming, of course, that Sarah could keep Earth from becoming just another developing world in the Varaxian portfolio. But then, humans had always done their best work when backed into a corner. The game was on, and humanity's future hung in the balance. The hidden edge. The consortium's central archives towered like a mountain of living crystal, each facet containing millennia of galactic history. Sarah Chen had spent 3 weeks learning to navigate its ever-shifting corridors, building a mental map of its security patterns. Today, she would need every bit of that knowledge. "Your credentials, Representative Chen." The security eye's voice resonated through her bones. Sarah presented her temporary diplomatic pass, awarded to her as Earth's appellant in the classification dispute. The pass was genuine. What she planned to do with it wasn't. "Proceed to Level 7. Section 42B. Standard research protocols apply." The AI's tone was neutral, unaware that Sarah's neural interface was already mapping signal patterns, looking for gaps in surveillance. She discovered something interesting about consortium security systems. They were designed to detect energy signatures, quantum fluctuations, and virtually every known form of technological interference. But they had a blind spot. They didn't account for the human brain's natural electromagnetic field. Earth's research into consciousness-based computing had remained secret for good reason. Sarah found her assigned research terminal and began accessing public records about previous primitive world classifications. Her conscious mind focused on the task, while her neural interface's passive systems gathered data about the archive's deeper networks. The interface itself was undetectable, being based on modified human neurons rather than traditional technology. Fascinating research approach. The voice came from behind her. Sarah turned to find herself facing a tall, silvery being with flowing appendages that reminded her of sea anemones. "I am Zyra of the Meridian Collective. Your species' methodology is unique." Sarah had learned to read alien body language over the past weeks. Zyra's undulating tentacles suggested genuine curiosity rather than suspicion. "Humans tend to look for patterns others might miss," she replied carefully. "Sometimes the most important information lies in what isn't said." "Indeed." Zyra moved closer, speaking more quietly. "Like how the Varaxians have classified 17 worlds as primitive in the past cycle alone, more than all other consortium members combined." Sarah's pulse quickened, but she kept her expression neutral. "That does seem statistically unusual. The Meridian Collective has concerns about Varaxian expansion methods. We lack proof of irregularities, but perhaps a fresh perspective would be valuable." Zyra extended a data crystal. "My private research, if you're interested. The archive's close in 3 hours." After Zyra glided away, Sarah examined the crystal. Her neural interface detected no surveillance triggers or traps, just densely packed data. She had come looking for evidence of classification fraud. Instead, she might have found an ally. The next 3 hours proved revolutionary. Zyra's data, combined with her own research, painted a disturbing picture. The Varaxians hadn't just rigged Earth's classification. They'd created an entire shadow economy of manipulated world acquisitions. Their development programs stripped planets of resources while keeping native species technologically dependent. But they had made a crucial mistake with Earth. They assumed human technology matched human space presence. They hadn't realized that centuries of war and competition had taught humanity to hide its capabilities, to keep its best innovations secret until they were needed. Sarah was about to log off when her neural interface flagged something, a hidden pattern in the archive's quantum storage layer. She followed the digital trail, using the interface's unique properties to slip through security protocols. What she found made her blood run cold. The Varaxians hadn't just bought Earth. They'd already divided its resources among their mining consortiums, mapped out development zones that would displace millions, and even calculated expected resistance casualties. The operation was scheduled to begin in less than 2 galactic cycles, about 6 Earth months. Research period ends in 5 minutes, the AI announced. Sarah quickly covered her tracks, making sure her deeper investigations remained hidden. She had what she needed, but now faced an even bigger challenge: how to use this information without revealing how she'd obtained it. As she left the archives, her neural interface compiled and encrypted everything she'd discovered. The Varaxians had built their power on information control and bureaucratic manipulation, but they were about to learn that humans had turned information warfare into an art form long before reaching the stars. Back in her temporary quarters, Sarah composed a carefully coded message to Earth. The response would take days to arrive through official channels, but she knew what it would say. Humanity had faced extinction-level threats before. Each time, they'd survived through adaptation and innovation. The Varaxians saw Earth as just another primitive world to exploit. They didn't realize they were dealing with a species that had split the atom, unraveled DNA, and begun exploring quantum consciousness, all while most of its population thought they were alone in the universe. Humanity hadn't achieved official faster-than-light travel, true, but they had achieved something far more dangerous. They had learned to keep secrets. A notification chimed. Zyra requesting a private meeting. Sarah smiled. The Varaxians had built an empire through manipulation and control. But humans built alliances. The next move would require perfect timing. Sarah needed to gather more allies, compile evidence that could be presented legally, and prepare Earth's defenses, all without showing their full hand. The Varaxians thought they were dealing with primitive natives who would be easily controlled. They were about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous species are the ones you underestimate. Digital revolution. The Meridian Collective's meeting chamber defied conventional physics. Crystalline structures floated in seemingly random patterns, their surfaces displaying real-time data from 1,000 worlds. Sarah Chen stood before representatives of 12 species, each considered minor powers by the consortium. Perfect. The Varaxians haven't just violated classification protocols, Sarah explained, her neural interface projecting data through her temporary diplomatic credentials. They've created an artificial economic system designed to strip developing worlds of resources and autonomy. Zyra's tentacles rippled with concern. We've suspected as much, but proving it within consortium law has been impossible. Their systems are impenetrable. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Impenetrable to traditional methods, yes. But Earth has developed alternative approaches to information systems. She interfaced with the chamber's holographic systems, using her neural link to showcase a simplified version of Earth's quantum consciousness computing. The aliens watched in fascination as she demonstrated how human brainwave patterns could interact with digital systems in ways their traditional AIs couldn't detect. Fascinating, breathed Kittle, a serpentine being representing the silicon harmonies. Your species has merged biological and digital evolution paths. But surely the Varaxians must have detected such technology. That's the beauty of it, Sarah replied. They're looking for machine-based quantum computing, for traditional digital signatures. Human consciousness exists outside their detection parameters. We've been practicing digital camouflage since before we knew we needed it. The chamber erupted in excited discussion. Sarah had calculated this reaction. Species who had been marginalized by the major powers would understand the value of hidden strengths. "But how can this help us?" asked Zura. "Even with proof of corruption, the consortium systems are designed to favor established powers." Sarah's expression turned serious. "Because we're not just going to expose the corruption, we're going to give you the tools to level the playing field." She transmitted a secure data packet to each representative. Earth's quantum consciousness interface designs, not the full technology, but enough to begin developing your own versions, each adapted to your species' unique neural patterns. The chamber went silent. What Sarah was offering violated every consortium technology sharing protocol. It was also exactly what these marginalized species needed. The Varaxians control through technological superiority. Sarah continued. But they've never faced a coalition of species with consciousness-based computing. Their entire surveillance and control system is built on the assumption that all advanced technology follows their paradigm. Kittle's crystalline scales shimmered with excitement. With these interfaces, we could bypass their security. More importantly, Sarah added, we could prove their manipulation of world classifications. Legally, without revealing how we obtained the evidence. The implications rippled through the chamber. Earth wasn't just offering technology. They were offering a way to change the balance of power without direct confrontation. Why? Zyra asked softly, why share such valuable technology? Because Earth understands something the Varaxians don't, Sarah replied. True strength comes from cooperation, not domination. We've learned that lesson through centuries of our own conflicts. She didn't mention Earth's other hidden developments, the quantum shielding systems, the consciousness-based weapons platforms, the fleet of ships waiting in dimensional pocket space. Those were last resorts. This was about winning without firing a shot. Over the next weeks, Sarah worked with each species scientists, helping them adapt the neural interface technology to their own physiologies. The Meridian Collective's crystalline neural networks required complete redesign of the base protocols. The Silicon Harmony's hive mind structure needed special quantum entanglement modifications. Each challenge pushed the technology in new directions, making it stronger, more versatile. The Varaxians noticed the increased diplomatic activity among the minor powers, but dismissed it as irrelevant. Their spies reported no unusual technology signatures, no suspicious energy readings. They couldn't detect the revolution happening inside their targets' minds. Sarah received regular encoded updates from Earth. The global defense grid was nearly complete, hidden beneath the cover of routine satellite maintenance. The dimensional pocket fleet had finished its shakedown runs. Most importantly, the quantum consciousness network was ready for full deployment. The pieces were in place. Now came the delicate part, spring the trap without revealing their full capabilities. Earth needed to emerge as a respected power, not a feared one. The distinction was crucial for their long-term plans. Final preparations are complete, Zyra announced during their last secret meeting. Our collective consciousness interfaces are operational. The evidence gathering can begin. Sarah nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. They weren't just fighting for Earth anymore, but for every species the Varaxians had dismissed as inferior. The next few days would reshape galactic politics forever. Remember, she cautioned, we're not looking for revenge. We're creating a new paradigm. The Varaxians believe in power through control. We'll show them power through collaboration. As she left the chamber, Sarah received an urgent message from her neural interface. The Varaxians had accelerated their timeline. The resource extraction fleet was mobilizing early. The revolution would have to begin ahead of schedule. But then, humans had always been good at improvising. Diplomatic warfare. The consortium's Grand Assembly Hall hummed with tension. Thousands of representatives from across the galaxy gathered for what they thought was a routine policy session. Sarah Chen stood at the petitioner's podium, her neural interface synchronized with her allies' consciousness networks, waiting for the perfect moment. High above, the Varaxian delegation lounged in their privileged seats, their iridescent scales gleaming with smug confidence. Their extraction fleet was already in motion, hidden behind bureaucratic designations as developmental assistance vessels. In less than 48 hours, they would reach Earth's solar system. The Assembly recognizes Earth's representative for their appeal of primitive world classification, announced the Chief Administrator, a beam of pure energy contained within an ancient environmental suit. Be advised that all evidence must conform to consortium protocols. Sarah bowed respectfully. Of course, Chief Administrator. Earth simply wishes to present new information regarding the classification process. She paused, letting her words hang in the air. And not just for Earth. Her neural interface pulsed, sending the signal through the hidden network. Instantly, hundreds of holographic displays materialized throughout the chamber, each showing evidence of Varaxian manipulation. Classification records, resource assessments, profit projections, all obtained legally through their consciousness-based systems. Over the past 30 cycles, Sarah continued, her voice carrying through the stunned silence, the Varaxian Imperium has deliberately misclassified 43 worlds as primitive, launching what they call development programs. The Varaxian delegation leader rose, his scales flushing dark with anger. This is slander. Where did you obtain these records? From the consortium's own archives. Sarah replied calmly. Every document presented is certified authentic by consortium protocols. We simply found the connections others missed. The chamber erupted in chaos as representatives began accessing the data. Sarah had chosen her presentation carefully, starting with the most recently exploited worlds and working backward, letting each revelation build on the last. The Varaxians had been thorough in covering their tracks, but they'd never considered that their victims would work together. This is irrelevant, the Varaxian leader hissed. Earth remains classified as primitive until proven otherwise. Our development program will proceed as scheduled. Sarah's lips curved in a slight smile. About that development program, would you care to explain why your humanitarian assistance fleet is carrying enough mining equipment to strip an entire continent? New holograms appeared, showing detailed scans of the approaching Varaxian fleet. The ship's true nature was clear. Strip mining platforms, atmospheric processors, automated resource extractors. Furthermore, Sarah continued, we have evidence that similar fleets have reduced 17 worlds to uninhabitable wastes in the past decade alone. The Varaxians aren't developing primitive worlds, they're looting them. The Chief Administrator's energy form pulsed with concern. These are serious allegations. However, Earth's primitive status means you have no standing to. Actually, interrupted Zoira, rising from the Meridian Collective section, Earth is standing through the collective. We've entered into a technology sharing agreement. More chaos. Technology sharing with a primitive world was strictly forbidden. But before the Varaxians could capitalize on this admission, Kitol of the Silicon Harmonies spoke up. The Silicon Harmonies have also entered into agreement with Earth. Their consciousness interface technology has revolutionized our computing systems. One by one, representatives from the supposedly minor powers stood, each announcing similar arrangements. Sarah watched the Varaxian delegation's confidence crumble as they realized the true scope of what they faced. This is impossible, the Varaxian leader sputtered. No primitive world could develop such technology without being noticed. Sarah asked quietly, without registering on your surveillance networks. That's exactly the point. Earth and its allies have developed an entirely new paradigm of technological advancement, one based on consciousness and cooperation rather than brute force computation. The Chief Administrator's energy form wavered thoughtfully. These agreements, they were registered through proper channels. Filed last week, Sarah confirmed. Through the same bureaucratic processes the Varaxians used to hide their exploitation programs. The documentation is impeccable. The hidden meaning was clear. Earth and its allies had beaten the Varaxians at their own game, using the consortium's labyrinthine bureaucracy against them. Given this new evidence, the chief administrator announced, all primitive world classifications of the past 30 cycles will be reviewed. Additionally, all development programs are suspended pending investigation. Victory. But Sarah wasn't finished. One more thing, she said, her voice carrying through the chamber. That fleet heading toward Earth. It needs to turn around. Now. The Varaxian leader's scales darkened further. Or what? Primitive. Sarah's smile remained diplomatic, but her eyes hardened. Or you'll learn exactly how primitive we're not. The human factor. The Varaxian fleet didn't turn around. Sarah watched from the consortium's strategic command center as the massive ships continued their advance toward Earth's solar system. The Varaxian leader, Supreme Commander Vexthor, had called what he thought was her bluff. After all, what could a primitive world possibly do against the most advanced mining fleet in the galaxy? Final warning has been ignored, Sarah reported calmly to the assembled consortium observers. Earth will now exercise its right of self-defense. Vexthor's laugh echoed through the chamber. With what? Ground-based projectile weapons. Primitive chemical rockets. Your entire species hasn't even reached your neighboring planet. Sarah's neural interface connected with Earth's quantum defense network. You know what your biggest mistake was? Assuming our space program represented the peak of our technology. Did you never wonder why a species capable of quantum computing and fusion power wasn't exploring further? The first signs that something was wrong came from the Varaxian fleet's long-range sensors. Their quantum scanning arrays, designed to map planetary resources from orbit, started showing impossible readings. Space itself seemed to be folding around Earth's orbital paths. Dimensional pocket technology, Sarah announced to the stunned assembly. We figured it out 50 years ago. Couldn't risk testing it openly, though. Too many unfriendly eyes watching. So we built our real fleet in folded space, hidden from conventional detection. The pocket dimensions began opening. Sleek vessels of unmistakably human design emerged, their hulls composed of materials that absorbed rather than reflected scanning beams. The consortium observers' instruments struggled to count them all. Impossible. Vexthor sputtered. Our surveillance networks. We're looking for what you expected to find. Sarah finished. Traditional engine signatures, standard power emissions, but our ships don't use conventional drives. They're powered by synchronized human consciousness, linked through quantum networks. No radiation signature, no power curve to detect. Just pure thought given form. The human fleet took up defensive positions around Earth. There were hundreds of ships, each one a testament to decades of secret development and innovation. But they didn't attack. They didn't need to. You're not the only ones who've been studying other worlds, Sarah continued. We've had decades to analyze your technology, your tactics, your weaknesses. Did you really think all those classified worlds you exploited never fought back? That none of them left records of your vulnerabilities. Her neural interface pulsed. Across the Varaxian fleet, ship after ship began reporting system failures. Their quantum computers crashed, rebuilt themselves, crashed again. Engineering systems reported impossible energy readings. Navigation plotted courses that made no mathematical sense. Consciousness-based warfare, Sarah explained to the astonished observers. Your computers think in quantum binary. Ours think in human intuition. You can't counter what you can't comprehend. The Varaxian ships hung helpless in space, their crews unable to trust a single reading or command input. Earth's fleet hadn't fired a single shot. The thing about humans, Sarah said quietly, is that we've spent most of our history fighting ourselves. We got very, very good at finding weaknesses, exploiting vulnerabilities, and hiding our true capabilities. But we also learned the cost of warfare, the value of peace, and the importance of choosing the right moment to show strength. She turned to face Vexthor directly. Your fleet is disabled. Your corruption is exposed. Your power base is crumbling. But we're not going to destroy your ships or humiliate your people. Instead, we're offering you a choice. The chamber fell silent as Sarah laid out Earth's terms. The Varaxians would withdraw not just from Earth, but from all the worlds they had exploited. In return, Earth and its allies would help them transition to a new economic model, one based on cooperation and mutual development rather than exploitation. Because that's the other thing about humans, Sarah concluded. We're surprisingly good at forgiveness when given reason to trust. We'd rather have partners than enemies. The consortium observers broke into furious discussion. What they had witnessed went beyond a simple primitives versus exploiters conflict. Earth had demonstrated not just advanced technology, but a fundamentally different approach to power and progress. Vexthor's scales had paled to a sickly gray. And if we refuse? Sarah's expression remained professionally neutral. Then we release our evidence of your corruption to every world in the galaxy, demonstrate our technological superiority to all potential rivals, and let you explain to your people why their economy is about to collapse. Or, she paused meaningfully, you can help us build something better. The choice was clear. The age of Varaxian exploitation was over. But more importantly, the galaxy was about to learn that true advancement came not from domination, but from the kind of adaptive thinking that only arose from Earth's unique history of competition and cooperation. New dawn. 1 year later, the consortium's Grand Assembly Hall looked very different. The hierarchical seating arrangements were gone, replaced by a circular design that put all species on equal footing. Sarah Chen stood at the center, no longer a petitioner but a respected leader, presenting Earth's proposal for the Galactic Cooperation Initiative. The old model of technological advancement was linear, she explained, her neural interface projecting holographic models throughout the chamber. Species were judged solely on their visible achievements: faster than light travel, energy production, computational power. But Earth's emergence proved this model fundamentally flawed. The assembled representatives, including a much humbled Varaxian delegation, watched as she demonstrated Earth's alternative paradigm. True advancement isn't just about building bigger ships or faster computers. It's about finding new ways to solve problems, about combining different approaches to create something greater than the sum of its parts. The evidence was undeniable. In the year since the Varaxian fleet's withdrawal, Earth's consciousness-based technology had revolutionized galactic society. The Meridian Collective's crystalline neural networks, combined with human intuitive computing, had created artificial intelligence that actually understood context and nuance. The Silicon Harmony's hive mind structure, integrated with Earth's quantum consciousness interfaces, had revolutionized faster-than-light communication. Even the Varaxians, after initial resistance, had found their niche in the new order. Their expertise in resource extraction, once used for exploitation, was being repurposed for environmental restoration of damaged worlds. Their first project was actually healing planets they had previously stripped, a powerful symbol of change. But technology is only part of the equation, Sarah continued. Earth's greatest contribution isn't our hidden fleet or our quantum computers. It's our understanding that diversity, of thought, of approach, of culture, is strength. Our history of conflict taught us the importance of peace. Our experience with competition showed us the value of cooperation. She gestured to her allies, Zyra, Kittel, and others who had taken a chance on trusting a primitive world. Look what we've accomplished in just 1 year of true collaboration. The Meridian's crystal tech, enhanced by human consciousness computing. The Silicon Harmony's hive mind expanded through quantum networks. Even Varaxian mining technology, refined and repurposed for restoration rather than exploitation. The assembly chamber hummed with energy as representatives accessed data streams showing the results. Productivity was up across all member worlds. Scientific breakthroughs were happening at unprecedented rates. Most importantly, smaller worlds that had once feared exploitation were now active participants in galactic society. Earth remains unique, Sarah acknowledged. We'll keep some of our capabilities in reserve, a lesson learned from hard experience. but we're committed to sharing our most important discovery, that the strongest societies are built on cooperation, not control. She turned to face the Varaxian delegation directly. Their scales now shimmered with a more subdued iridescence, a sign of their cultural shift from dominance to collaboration. Your people's knowledge of resource management and large-scale engineering is unmatched. Imagine what you could accomplish by helping worlds develop sustainably, by being known as builders rather than exploiters. The Varaxian ambassador's scales rippled with what Sarah had learned was thoughtful consideration. "We are learning to see strength differently," he admitted. "Our old methods brought us power, but your approach offers something we never expected: respect." Sarah smiled. This was what Earth had really been fighting for, not just survival or independence, but the chance to help create something better. The consortium was transforming from a hierarchical power structure into a true collaborative network. Her neural interface pinged with an incoming message from Earth. Her daughter Maya, now 9, had just been accepted into the new Galactic Youth Exchange Program. She would be among the first Earth children to study alongside young beings from across the galaxy. The message included a photo of Maya excitedly holding up her acceptance letter, her eyes shining with the same wonder Sarah had felt when she first looked up at the stars. That was humanity's real secret weapon, Sarah reflected. Not the hidden fleet or the quantum technology, or even the consciousness computing. It was their capacity for wonder, their drive to explore and understand, their ability to learn from mistakes and imagine better possibilities. The galaxy is entering a new age, she concluded. Not of primitive and advanced worlds, not of competition and exploitation, but of collaboration and mutual growth. Earth is proud to help lead the way forward, not because we're the strongest or the most advanced, but because we understand something fundamental. The greatest achievements come not from conquering our differences, but from celebrating them. The assembly erupted in approval. As Sarah stepped down from the podium, she thought about all the worlds yet to be discovered, all the species yet to join the galactic community. Thanks to humanity's unique approach, born of centuries of conflict and cooperation, of hiding and revealing, of competition and collaboration, they would find not an exploitative hierarchy, but a true civilization ready to welcome them as equals. The stars had never looked brighter.